Because it's kind of far away to be on the stage. Okay. Thank you all for coming. We'll be starting in just a moment with our invocation. Hi, Lucas. We're going to start with the invocation. Bob's going to do the invocation. Oh, you're going to do it?
Yes, I think so, yeah. Oh, I didn't realize that. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Maybe we'll need somebody.
No, maybe you can do the one at the end. I can do the end.
Well, Margaret doesn't show up. I don't think she'll mind if somebody else does it.
Okay, that's good. Mine is
So she might get here late.
Okay, Bob.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
We're calling on our professional ministers and ordained people to do this.
You get one of the cups with drink. Judy said, be careful because they're all dented on the bottom, and that's because they're compostable.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes people say, you know, these compostable, how long will it take? I'm just going to point out, it's already stuck.
Just be careful because if Anthony sees that in here,
I apologize ahead of time. Okay, just for the sake. I am not Margaret Mills, but I was asked, Judy asked if I could offer an invocation, and who can say no to Judy, okay? And she handed me a prayer, Earthly Prayers from Around the World, 365. We only have time for about 200 of them. No, I found one. I checked a few, and this one stopped me. So if we could begin with these words. Great Spirit, give us hearts to understand, never to take from creation's beauty more than we give, never to destroy wantonly for the furtherance of greed, never to deny to give our hands for the building of earth's beauty, never to take from her what we cannot use. Give our hearts to understand that to destroy earth's music is to create confusion, that to wreck her appearance is to blind us to beauty, that to callously pollute her fragrance is to make a house of stench, that as we care for her, she will care for us. Amen.
Okay, can we have the slides, start the slideshow, please? Okay, and I'm going to turn the mic over to our treasurer, Catherine.
just stick with me because
Okay.
I didn't know I was going to do this. Okay.
Let me ask two people. Do you have any problem seeing the speaker? Do they need to step back toward the stage more because of the light, or are they okay? He doesn't know. Okay, well, here we go.
Over here a little bit. Okay, who has the minutes? Okay, so it's on the agenda to have the minutes from the previous annual meeting, but we're going to have the board approve those at the next board meeting. So we're going to skip over that. Next slide here. Okay, that pretty much gives you an idea of who we are and what we work on. Educate, inspire, advocate, and organize. And we are a growing organization. This year has been a tremendous growth for us, and we're very proud of all the things that have been happening. So in the next slide, and this is the agenda. We've already gone through a couple of things. Most of you have that in your packet here. You can follow along. So we're going to go to Judy with the 3-year strategic Oh, annual report overview. Okay.
And I've been asked to do that. I'm Ron Prosek. I should mention, and I'm a member of the board, but I should mention that Margaret Mills, who is on the agenda, is a pastor in Elmore, Ohio. She was going to do the invocation, but yesterday her family threw a surprise party for her for her birthday. She had like 50 people at her house, and some of them were staying until noon today. So she said, I might be a tad late. So I said, we'll work it out somehow. Don't worry about it. She may be here for the closing, though. Next slide, please. So this is the beginning of our annual business meeting. Next slide, please. The previous meeting was September 28th, 2024. And as Catherine explained, we're going to approve those. We're going to read and approve those minutes at the board meeting on October 10th. I don't think you want to sit here and go through the minutes now. So the next slide, please. This is a brief summary of the annual report. There'll be a more complete printed report. It'll also be published on the website. But we just want to give you a brief overview. Next slide, please. Okay, first of all, we were focused very much this past year on outreach, that is, working with other communities. And so you see the Catholic Community of Athens is one of our anchor groups. These are anchor communities that work with us. They're like our organizing hubs in different parts of the state. Community of St. Peter in Cleveland, East Shore Unitarian Universalist in Lake County, First UU Society of Marietta, UU Congregation of Cleveland, which is located in Shaker Heights, UCC Kent, and West Shore UU FACT. So we're right now at the home of West Shore UU FACT, which is actually an organization of the church, officially chartered by the church here. Next slide. And Dayenu, 6 Jewish synagogues and 1 church in Greater Cleveland. So, and Mimi's here representing them today. Next slide. Other organizations that we collaborate with, the Bryan Task Force, we've done a lot with them. The Buckeye Environment Network, very close to our hearts. Frac Tracker Alliance, our current president just moved from that organization to a new job, but they're close to us too. The National Wildlife Federation, Great Lakes region. The Ohio Interfaith Power and Light, I think everybody's heard of them. Save Ohio Parks, we've worked closely with them. And Sierra Club, and the Sunrise Movement. Next slide. Our mission involves convening and educating across Ohio. So right now we have an intern in Columbus representing FACT, and she is working on our brine education program, helping to inform legislative aides about the problem of frac waste, brine that comes out of frac wells, which is toxic and radioactive. And perhaps not surprisingly, she's found out that they know nothing about this. So now they're learning about it. Next slide, or next item. Climate change presentations to the anchors and others. Randy is our outreach in Appalachia. She's done a lot there in schools. Distinguished Speaker Series. We've had 8 speakers this year on Zoom, very distinguished people, scientists, authors. Next item. And the Cleveland International Film Festival. We're a community partner, and I think this is, what, the 3rd or 4th year, Kathleen? 3rd year we've been involved. And we'll tell you more about that later. We have more information. The next item, and protecting state parks from fracking is a big goal for us as well. And we're exploring the making of a film about the situation in Ohio. So we've already talked to the filmmakers, and we're trying to line up some funding for it with some partners. Build our capacity to grow, redesigning our website and social media. We spent a lot of time on that, time and money, but it's important, so we have to do it. Board leadership recruitment, Judy Kummel-Hart has led us on a lot of these things with some foundation help. Next one. And we have expanded the hours of our development director, Judy, to focus on capacity building. She wrote and was successful in obtaining a major grant of $50,000 just about a month ago. Next slide. So yes, good job, Judy, good job. Next item, please. Okay, we've expanded the board from 11 to 12 members, and I didn't have room for all their photos, but all their names are up there. Next item. We increased hours for our paid staff from last year to this year, and for next year we're increasing them again, thanks to the grant that we got. Supported Bryan Education intern, I mentioned that. Caitlin Bromfield had been stationed in Columbus. She's back on her campus at Kenyon College now, and she's going to continue her work there, even though we're not paying her. She's doing it voluntarily there. Her pay term ended in September. We have I think we have more than 20 volunteers. I couldn't put them all up there, but many of them are also on the board, so they serve two roles. The Anchor Communities program has been strengthened and expanded, and we're looking forward to expanding it again this year, 2020, fiscal 26. As I mentioned before, we had 8 distinguished speakers, and Father Neil here is our last one for this year. Next slide, please. Oh, the grants. Total grants, $71,200. So in addition to that $50,000, there have been some smaller grants in the mix as well this year. Manage our financial resources. I think I'll let Catherine speak to this part. Catherine is our treasurer.
Okay, so for 2025, our income to date for our fiscal year is $152,685, and a lot of that is, again, due to what Judy just got us, a $50,000 grant. And we spent $91,116. So it looks like we've got a lot of, money left, but we operate a very thin line as far as our finances are concerned. If you look at last year's budget that we projected $99,000 in income and very close to that in expenses. And we were only coming out with a very little amount of profit. And we got pretty darn close to that without that $50,000 grant. And we're encouraging other people to come on board with us, find out what we're doing, and help support us. We've got a budget in plan for 2026. That is the income of $124,500, spending $124,295. If you do your math, we're going to have $205 left at the end of the year. And of course, out of that income, operating a nonprofit is a little bit different. There's two things. First of all, we're not on a calendar year. Secondly, we depend a lot on grants. Sometimes we know we're getting it, but we don't get it until down the road, till they're ready to distribute it. Fortunately, with this grant, they were ready to distribute it very quickly, and that helped us. But it is a continual struggle, and we appreciate every single dollar that we get in donations, and we are a 501c3, which means all of your donations to us are tax deductible. So Ron will be around if anybody wants to make a contribution today. We'd gladly help take it in. Can you give us the next slide? This is our income for 2025, and you can see the large portion of it is grants. Our fundraising campaigns do provide about 36% of our income, but our constituents monthly and our faith communities donations are pretty slim, so we're going to be working on doing something with that. Next slide. Okay, again here, our expenses for 2025. You're going to see a very large portion in there of governing expenses, and that is because of our growth. We have invested in some very significant things, some training for all of us, some organization. Many of those things this year will not be reoccurring next year. We'll be spending that money in some other place. But our marketing and communications, and that is really those two places. We want people to know that we're here, that we're a voice, and so that pie chart's going to change hopefully next year. But that's where we were for 2025. Okay.
Thank you, Catherine. Next slide, please. Okay, and the next item, please. Judy, did you want to narrate this part, or do you want me? Okay. This is actually Judy's bailiwick, Judy Como-Hart. She is our development director. We've increased her hours. Actually, it's a little bit more than a third, I think, over last year. And it was by hours. So it was from 60 hours to 90 hours we've increased. New emphasis this year on climate change education. This was a decision the board made at our retreat at the community of St. Peter's a couple months ago.
So that was a result of the survey we did and the interviews we did. That's the feedback we got from our constituents. They really wanted more information on the
Yeah, I'll repeat that. Judy said I should point out it wasn't just a board decision, but there was a lot. We surveyed the whole organization. We surveyed our constituents. We surveyed even people that were outside the organization for advice and so on. So it was a big process, and you know that was a sort of a collective decision. We want to grow our annual giving campaign, as Catherine indicated. There's some areas in that pie chart that need a little bit more work. So individual giving is one of those areas. Next slide, please. We've strengthened our governance with an updated board manual, and that's a lot of work, but Judy's put that together for us. We've improved our accounting practices, and that's thanks to Catherine, who just spoke. Catherine she actually has training in this stuff, which I don't have. So she came to the rescue, and she's still trying to straighten out the mess I made, so thank you, Catherine. We're okay, but it's going to be a lot more rational when we get this thing all sorted out. Next item, please. Okay, and we want to add new anchor communities. That map's hard to see, but we have some in Northeast Ohio and Southeast Ohio. We need to build out more in Central Ohio. Most of the fracking is going on in Eastern Ohio and things associated with fracking. So that would be our first area, Appalachian Ohio, and then we'll work out from there. Next slide, please. Oh, next item, yeah. And we want to expand our education activities in general. You know, mainly within our anchor churches and beyond those churches. Next slide. Okay, the 3-year strategic plan. This is just an overview. We're not getting into details, but we also want to establish an emerging issues committee. At our retreat, we talked a lot about, and you've probably read about and heard about, all the things going on with data centers, crypto mining, and artificial intelligence. Those things all take huge amounts of power. And experts who have looked at Ohio said, there's no way we can do that. We just don't have that much electric power. So we've got to think outside the box, literally. Next item, please. Okay, and we also want to broaden our communications, our public presence, our web, and our social media. And thanks to Kathleen Webb, who's worked very hard on this, on our marketing. And I've worked a bit on it. And Linda New has worked on it quite a bit with us too. And many other people on the board have helped. So next slide, please. Okay, and speaking of marketing, you might remember that we had an Earth Day card. This was something that Kathleen's committee worked on. And we'd like to do that every year. We're not asking people for money. We just want to send them an Earth Day card to let them know, yeah, we're here. Next slide. And this beautiful flyer, it's a threefold flyer, but you know, we're showing one side and then we'll show the other side. Let's go to the next slide. And I love this. I love the science plus faith. I think that's great. That's really great. Okay, bylaws. I'm going to call Marlene Blatnick-Fries up here to... This is actually a business item that we do have to vote on. You should have received copies of this or links to it in your email.
Well, I move for the adoption of the revised bylaws. So now we need a second. Catherine will give a second. Okay, let me just read over the bylaws. The proposed revisions are I'm sorry. Okay. Refined language under Article 2 purpose, the definition of constituent, revised rules of constituent meetings, redefined quorum as 50% of the board members plus one, revised voting rules for the annual meeting, modification of bylaws amendment procedure, and last but not least, renumber articles as appropriate. And if there's any questions or discussion? If not, then I think we should vote on them.
Okay, these are proposed amendments to our bylaws. The committee has worked very hard on structuring things to help us go forward. We need a vote. We have a motion, and I seconded it. Is there anyone that has any pro or con comments before we vote? No? Okay, all in favor of adopting? Let's just a show of hands. Okay. Do we have anybody opposed? Do we have anybody abstaining? Then I would say that these changes have passed. And Marlene, you're still up there for board selection.
We have 9 board of director candidates this year. 7 of those candidates are on the board now, but their terms are up, and they have graciously accepted to run another term. I will read those candidates. For officers, the candidates are for Vice President, Bob Close. For Secretary, Ron Prosek. For the non-officer board directors, we have Bob Maher, Margaret Mills, Linda New, Justin Thompson, and Kathleen Webb. Now we have 2 new board candidates that have never been on the board but are willing to be candidates. The first of them is Yolanda M. Hall. Yolanda is a locally and nationally recognized advocate for racial and environmental health issues, or health justice issues, excuse me. She is the executive director and founder of the Northeast Ohio Black Health Coalition and co-founder of Cleveland-led Safety Network. She is a mother, grandmother, and activist, deeply impassioned and involved in social justice activities and is a member of numerous local and national organizations. She received a Master's of Public Administration from Texas Southern University and a Baccalaureate of Arts from Notre Dame College. And she is a proud graduate of John Marshall High School in Cleveland, Ohio. Our next new board candidate is Joanne Wagner. Joanne has spent her career in Cleveland area working as an information technology developer for 40 years. In addition, she has taught speech, composition, and debate to high school juniors and seniors. Her teaching skills have been put to a good use, leading the FACT's Climate Change Education Committee for the past 2 years. She is a graduate of John Carroll University with a bachelor's degree in communications and a minor in English literature. Joanne is a member of the community of St. Peter and is active in their Climate Conversations group. Are there any nominations from the floor?
Next slide. Okay. We got it, this one. Let's not jump the button because I know what the next one is. Okay. Is there any discussion about any of the candidates? Do we have a motion from the floor to accept these candidates?
I move a motion.
Okay.
I make a motion that the nomination be closed and that the acting secretary be directed to cast unanimous ballot for the board slate.
Second.
Ron? Okay, all in favor? Okay. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining? And I think we're all set. Motion has passed, and we want to welcome these people to our board. Next slide, please. Well, we did that, the one after that. See, I knew it was coming up. I was hoping that we were on board there. At this point, we're going to introduce our speaker, and we are very pleased to have him here for our meeting. And let's let Ron.
Okay, it's my privilege to introduce our keynote speaker today. This American was briefly considered for the papacy, but no, I'm just kidding. Surprise to him. Father Neil Pizzullo, longtime constituent of FACT, and he was with us in the early days. Not at the very birth of FACT, but pretty soon after it. FACT was a baby back then. And but Father Neil is a member of the Glen Mary Order. His mission involves establishing and promoting and supporting churches around the country, especially in impoverished areas like in Appalachia and in the South. So he's worked in Tennessee, he's worked in Georgia. You worked in Mississippi too, right? Yeah. So he's been around the South quite a bit. Now he's moving gradually north because now he's in Georgia. But he was with us in the early days, and he really gave us a big boost when we were just forming. And he always had such a great sense of humor. I remember at retreats, he told us so many good stories, and he always inspired us. And we're so happy that you came back, Neil, came back home to see us, and we look forward to hearing from your remarks. So before I do that, I should mention one thing, though, and I forgot to say this earlier. Annette McCoy of our board would be here, but she's quite ill. She's been in the hospital for 6 days. And I don't know if you know, but, well, I shouldn't say. She's been treated for a condition over some time, and we thought she was doing better, but her immune system is very fragile. So if you have a chance to reach out to her, that would be appreciated. I think we're going to send flowers or something to her from FACT. I just wanted to make sure you knew about that. Okay, I'm sorry. Father Neil.
This morning. I was supposed to have this printed up, and then the people I'm staying with left to do whatever suburban people do. I go to soccer games. And in the words of Justin Wilson, the Cajun chef, I'm glad for you, I'm happy for you to see me. I'm actually happy to see so many familiar faces and names, because even though I'm a constituent, I'm never in the area. You know, I've been asked to kind of reintroduce myself today. So once again, Ron gave you all the highlights. I am a priest for 26 years now. And no one's more surprised than me. You know, the real thing isn't that I'm a priest; it's that I kept a job 26 years. I currently live. You're guessing by my accent that I'm not from Georgia. I'm not. I've lived in Georgia since July 1st. Now, if this meeting was next week or the week after, I could have brought you peanuts, because we just started the peanut harvest. I live in the middle of the peanut fields in southwestern Georgia. On the way to the beach, it's probably redeeming quality. It's very different for me to live there. I can walk to church across Main Street, don't have to look because there's no traffic, because they're all out in the peanut fields. But I'm going to ask you today to do 3 things. And yeah, there's sort of like a homework assignment at the end, at least a conversation at the end. I'm going to ask you to remember, to celebrate, and to believe. Remember. We're nothing without our memories, because our memories form who we are and who we belong to. But at some point, each and every one of us made a decision that we're going to care for creation. Now, we all came about it probably different ways. I stand here today as a priest, but I didn't come about it by looking at what my faith teaches me about caring for creation or reading the Bible. I came about it by accident, kind of back ways. Now, whether we came about it through divine inspiration or whether we came about it because we thought it was simply the right thing to do, we do it. But let me be clear about caring for creation. It's got an image problem. It needs what do they call these people? An influencer on Instagram or something. Caring for creation is not some sort of hippie thing we do when we get around to it, if we feel like it, or we got nothing better going on, or there's no soccer game to go to, or whatever the hell we do. Caring for creation is a demand of all of our faiths, regardless of your faith tradition. There's not a single faith tradition in the world that doesn't have a teaching about caring for creation. It's in the Quran. It's in the Bible. It's in the Pentateuch. It's everywhere. There is no religious tradition, and whatever they refer to their sacred documents as, in my case, because I'm a Catholic Christian, sacred scripture. Other people have different, and that's fine. But there's no faith tradition that doesn't have a demand. I use the word deliberately because we hate that word, but it's true. A demand to care for creation. And if you came to it by faith, as I ultimately got to as an object of my faith, I'm going to just simply, for the sake of this conversation, define faith as something believed in or hoped for, something we believe to be true, yet not seen. If you need an example, I believe there are salespeople at Home Depot. I believe they're true. I've never seen one, but they're there. I think they see me coming and hide. But ultimately, our faith is intimately connected to hope, and hope is intimately connected to joy, and joy brings us back to faith. It's all interconnected. And to use the words of Pope Francis, he spoke in his document, his encyclical Laudato Si, which was caring for our common home, was the English translation of that document. It's an integral ecology, meaning it's all connected. We can't separate our faith and our joy. We can't separate our joy and our faith. We can't. But as I said earlier, I've only lived in Georgia since July 1st. So I don't really know what the issues are in Georgia. There seems to be more race issues than environmental issues. But there's issues. There's issues everywhere. How we approach whatever issues we face, and every community has different issues. How we approach that, I ask you to use the lens of your faith, whatever your faith is, however you come to it. Now, I grew up on an apple farm in upstate New York, and I had the perfect childhood. I got to ride my bike. I got to build tree forts. I got to have apple wars where we take the apples and throw them at each other until someone got hurt. Yes, it was, of course, the most vulnerable kid. I got to play hockey in the wintertime, something I won't be able to do in Georgia. I couldn't do it in Tennessee either. I got to play hockey. I got to go skiing. I got to do all kinds of stuff. My oyster. I could ride my bike to school by cutting through a park, the park where I played hockey, through the woods. We come up on a path behind the school. It was a perfect life. And then came third grade. Those bastards made me learn cursive, multiplication, and long division. And I don't care about that. It was also 1970. And I somehow in my 7-year-old world, I got word of Earth Day. And I thought this was came to care for creation. As a second grader, third grader, whatever it was, I was watching Earth Day. I think it was Walter Cronkite or Huntley and Brinkley that taught me about this stuff. And I thought it was important. We're going to stop polluting. We're going to clean up the air. We're going to clean up the water. We're going to put our garbage where it belongs. And at that point, you can imagine I had a very strong disliking to school, so I thought cleaning up the world was the thing to do. So my mom would let us ride our bikes to school. For 2 weeks, I never made it to school. And no one ratted me out, which got them in trouble too when I found I got busted. But I spent the day picking up trash by the side of the road. And you know what? No one questioned why a 7-year-old kid wasn't in school. Now, when I finally got busted, it didn't work out because at the time, my brother-in-law was the assistant principal. And it didn't go, let's just say it didn't go my way. But ever since I can remember, I've had a passion for caring for the world. In whatever form I could, however I could. The rhythms of nature have always captured my imagination, as they still do. And what shapes how I experience the world today, as I see it, it's a continuation of the creation story. God is still creating. God is still speaking. It's not over. From the book of Genesis, and I can only come from my own tradition, but in the book of Genesis, let us make humankind in our own image, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the wild animals of the earth, and every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth. I guess I mean the maggot people. The word dominion is confusing, though. Don't view dominion as power, control. Use it as caring for, stewardship, husbandry. That's what they intend by dominion over the world. We're on this earth to care for the world, not beat it up. But it's also a form of stewardship or taking care. Dominion and stewardship are intimately connected as well. The care of the earth is our most ancient and most worthy, and after all, our most pleasing responsibility to cherish what remains of it and to foster its renewal is our only hope, according to Wendell Berry, the Kentucky poet and author, who lives on the same land he was born on to this day. And between him and his wife, they care for their farm. They steward their farm. They practice husbandry. They understand that everything has an action and a reaction, and they run their farm in that way too. But I did survive my childhood, even though they laughed at me when I celebrated Earth Day. I convinced my family to let me give them a presentation on the very first Earth Day, and so I remember it specifically because we were allowed to go in the living room, which was a rare and special day. And so my whole family sat on the gold velvet couch. I know you had them too, you know. I gave my presentation, and by and large, they were underwhelmed. The issue of the day, I have 3 older brothers who were old enough to be drafted at that time. And so my father, who was a World War II veteran and a prisoner of war, during World War II, was having none of his children going to war. he was more worried about getting people out of Vietnam, which is ironic because the town I grew up in, most of the people worked at a General Electric plant or nuclear power plant in the area. All of them were veterans of either Korea or World War II, very pro-military contract, very pro-America, and no one wanted their kids to go to war. And they fought everything. That's just something that struck me as different. But it was nice. Things were different. Fast forward after college, I was still made fun of at times, but I ended up getting degrees in business administration. Well, someone has to, you know. I ended up, remember beepers from the late 1980s? Beepers. Remember beepers? Okay, so either you were a doctor, a lawyer, or a drug dealer. Those were my customers. I sold beepers. Huh? Like this? Okay. See, people complain they can't hear me. Then after they hear me, they complain about what I say. Well, I was a beeper salesman outside of Washington, D.C., and it was actually, economically, it was kind of good for me. But one of my prop customers was a pastor of a very large church. Can you hear me? Okay. I was a pastor of a very large Baptist church, so he would call me out that it's not working, So you change a battery or whatever. But this man felt his mission in life was to share the good news of Jesus Christ with everyone. So he'd ask me, a Yankee, an Italian, and an Irish Catholic, are you saved? You know how Catholics answer that question? I guess, I'm Catholic. That's not the answer he's looking for. So this guy would not give up on me. He kept calling me back. And then I admitted to him, I would tell him really about my faith. I would tell him, you know, I'm like in my 20s and I'm single and I'm practicing Catholic. And he's like, really? It's like, yeah, I know. It's a lonely place, but I am. You know? But I told him how I consider myself kind of an environmentalist. And I remember his name was Douglas Green, Pastor Green. Back got started. I remember this quote. This is from 1988. All the protests, all the recycling, all the tie-dyed shirts and dirty jeans bring out there aren't going to save the world. God's in charge. And yeah, I do agree, God's in charge. There's a divine entity in charge. I'm on board with that, obviously based on how I'm dressed. But I went home that night, and for some reason, I looked in the Bible. I'd never went to sacred scripture. I'd never went to any kind of teaching of any faith entity to find out what my faith has to say about this. And I found hundreds of references in Old Testament and New Testament on caring for creation. And then I found other documents from Pope John the 23rd and John Paul II and Paul VI and all these guys who, if you're not Catholic, you wouldn't know. They wrote about it. The Southern Baptist Convention wrote about it. The Episcopalians wrote about it. Everyone had something to say. And I was angry. Why the hell wasn't I told this in catechism class? Why aren't we talking about this at church? I immediately made a point to go talk to my pastor, and I came in all excited and just armed, like I'm just on fire. I was also, as a side part of the story, discerning going into priesthood at the time. And so my pastor would always take my request for appointments because he thought he could get me for the Diocese of Arlington, Virginia. Didn't work. I go in there and I explained to him what this is, and he was pretty unimpressed. So he pretty much showed me the door of my coat and walked me out of the office. But it was at that moment, and this is what I'm celebrating today, that I realized that caring for was an object of my faith or a demand of my faith. When was the moment in your lives where you're caring for the environment, caring for creation, a lot of ways to describe this, where is that moment where it became a demand of your faith? Let's celebrate that moment today. Because that's really what brought us together and keeps bringing us together now for all these years. But we do all this because we ultimately believe it's possible to be better, to have a better place. We know the reality that we need clean air, clean water. We need all this to survive. This is not, like I said, this is not some hippie thing we do when we get around to it. This is badass Christianity. This is exactly what Jesus is calling us to do. This is exactly what we're called to do. Care for the creation. Steward creation and leave it for those that come behind us, and the same way that those that came before us left us some good stuff too. And we come across these injustices because we're all connected. Remember, we don't live on the earth, we live with the earth, with the rhythms and rhythms of earth. As the seasons change and the leaves are changing and the temperatures are changing and the days are getting shorter, our own body rhythms change. If we pay attention, our appetite changes, our sleep patterns change, our socialization efforts, however we socialize, changes. It will slow down. It doesn't go dormant necessarily, it will slow down. And what happens in the spring? We come back to life. We are the rhythms, not of the world, but with the world. We live in the rhythms of the world. The aging we go through. Some of us are getting older, evidently, I'm told. As I got a letter from Social Security about a week ago. Like, that's the rhythm of life. I'm not going to change it. I don't necessarily like it, but I'm not going to change it. But that's the rhythm we do. Celebrate these rhythms, because this is who we are, and this is what we believe. This is where we keep going. But today, this is from the book of Deuteronomy. Today I ask you, and I'm quoting God here, today I've given you a choice between life and death, between blessings and curses. Now I call on heaven and earth to witness the choice you make, or that you would choose life so that you and your descendants might live. Caring for creation is choosing life. The political rhetoric of the day and time we all live in, when you hear the phrase choose life or pro-life, it's reduced to one single issue. But caring for creation is a pro-life issue. The seamless garment, if you've ever heard of that, that's where from the womb to the tomb, we're sacred. From the womb to the tomb, we are sacred. I found that out by reading the Gospel of John. After Jesus was crucified, they tore his garments. They couldn't tear his garment because there was no seam, so they cast lots for it. Jesus' tunic had no seam. They couldn't tear it. It was seamless. And they tore it into four, or it was supposed to go four ways: north, south, east, west, earth, water, fire, air. The totality is the message here of the seamlessness of life and the rhythm of life that we have, that we do, that we celebrate every day, and that we're part of this. And we are part of this because this is an act of our faith. Whatever our faith is, however our faith manifests itself, and whatever twists and turns we have in store for our lives, because 15, 20 years, well, 25, 30 years ago, certainly 55 years ago at the first Earth Day, did you ever think you'd be sitting here today? Do you ever think we'd have to talk? We'd have to go from speaking truth to power to truth to stupid? No. We remember, we celebrate, because we believe. And that's so important, remember that. That's the life we live. And yes, we have to stand up to this injustice, but we also have to remember this, because it's a seamless garment of life, sanctity and dignity from womb to tomb, it's all connected, it's all an integral ecology. I mean, it's all not only connected, it's interconnected. So we can't just look at caring for creation as a single issue. This does not exist in a vacuum. This is not a political faith issue. We have to integrate this into what's going on socially. What's the social ecology look like now? Are our trusted social institutions failing us? Are they corrupted? That affects everything. That leaks out into the environment. Caring for each other. Are people being left behind? And why are they being left behind? There's many, many reasons, but we're connected to those people. We're connected because we care. We're connected because we have a modicum of faith. That's connected to a social ecology, a financial ecology, the haves and the have-nots. It's an old argument. Who's got the money? Who doesn't have the money? Who's got the power? Who doesn't have the power? We know the story. We know there's insane income inequity worldwide. I just spent the last 5.5 years living on the edge of the Appalachian Mountains in Tennessee. And I had 2 different people I served. And over white people from Columbus, Cleveland, and Cincinnati, and Indianapolis about houses on Lake Norris. They're little McMansions on Lake Norris. And they're all high-powered executives and crazy generous people. I mean, someone's got to drink margaritas on pontoon boats all afternoon. It might as well be them, right? And people that didn't even have a chance. People that were never able to get an education because, once again, one of the trusted social institutions failed us, or failed them. Never do the worlds meet up. Never once do they meet up. Throw in a different dynamic with people that we deal with now. Here in Cleveland, I have a friend of mine who does refugee resettlement. He brought people in from Afghanistan. I forgot how many families, maybe 40. And many churches did this. Many people of goodwill did this. How do we adjust to that? That's a different culture, different way of praying, different way of living, different way of eating, different way of relating, all the way around. But we're intimately connected. It's an integral ecology that connects us. We celebrate that because we believe. If migrants all over the world, and the numbers vary between 4 million and 40 million migrants in this whole world right now, depending who you talk to. Why are they leaving their homelands? Why are they leaving where they're from? Their language, their culture, their family, their history, their foundations. Exactly. They're climate refugees, they're economic refugees, they're religious refugees. They're being chased out. Where can we sit here and not remember we're integrally and intimately connected to them as fellow human beings? And it's hard because I don't know what to do with migrants. I was newly ordained in 1999. I went to southeastern Arkansas right on a migrant trail. No one told me. They failed to mention migrants came by my house every day. They failed to tell that. I couldn't understand why people are coming by my house. And then one night, a guy named Paco came by. His feet were the color and the size of eggplants because he'd been walking from Guerrero, Mexico. It took 3 days of icing his feet down just to get him to a point we could get him to a doctor. Now, just as a sidebar story, Paco's married. He's a mechanic at a Volkswagen dealership in Arkansas, in Fort Smith. He's doing quite well. He's got a couple, 2 or 3 kids, owns his own home, which he paid cash for. He got his paperwork in order, so he's one of the good ones, he's legal. But we're connected to him. I haven't spoken to him in probably 10 years, but I'm connected to him. I haven't spoken to many of you people for years after I moved to Tennessee. I'm connected to you, you're connected to me. And that's what we're celebrating today because we believe. And so I want to challenge you on some of this. And like I said, this is kind of the homework. Tell your story. How did you come to understand that caring for creation is important to you? And if it was a faith-based story, great. If it was me, you just kind of thought Earth Day was kind of cool and you got, didn't want to go to school anyway. So I still have little use for long division, by the way. And I understand cursive is on the way out too. But tell the story. Celebrate the stories you hear because they're all going to be very different. Who would ever have thought a born-again Baptist could teach me my faith is the reason I care for creation? Like I was hostile toward the idea. Taught me caring for creation is biblical. It informs my faith. And believe, we're facing astronomical odds right now. Basically, what I'm asking you to do is I'm asking you to take your garden hose and turn it against Niagara Falls and reverse the flow. That's what it feels like some days. Don't give up. Our first response is to organize. Our first response is to figure out what's going on and make the connections. Is this an environmental issue? Is this an economic issue? Is this a social issue? And how they're connected. And we'd be amazed how much influence we actually have in these different arenas. We can go to our local school and help fix it if it's broken. We can go to a local jail and help fix what is broken. And I happen to currently serve as a prison chaplain at an immigration detention center. 1,900 detainees where I'm at, and there's more coming. And they're already doubled up in some places. Okay, we can volunteer our time. And you don't have to say anything, you don't have to do anything. The other afternoon, I sat with 12 guys from Japan, and we just talked, or they talked. They're just waiting to get deported. But since it's a for-profit company, and for some reason we've decided these for-profit prison companies are the way to go, they're getting $239 a day to keep the guys there and giving them cheese sandwiches. What every Japanese man longs is for, right? We celebrate because we believe. We remember, we celebrate, we believe. This is our story. However we came here today, and there's probably as many reasons we came here today as people in the room, and maybe even more. We celebrate that. So today, I need to remember, FACT is a faith-based organization. Our faiths are radically different. But we all believe in a divine entity that called us here today. I ask you, it's easy to say this because I'm going to go back to Georgia. But I ask you to remember that we're faith-based. We're not here for our own egos. We're not here of our own volition. We're here because we're faith-based. We're here because we've learned, at least instinctively, we don't live on the world, we live with the world. And we want to invite people to that. And so my prayer and my thought as I finally leave is remember that. As we go through the rhythms of the cycles of the earth, the season changes, the time changes, whatever they are, that we embrace them and let them change us. Let them transform us into something new. Let them transform us and change us into something new. Because we're going to come across pain. There's a lot of pain in this world. We all know people their lives are ruined because of fracking. I've told the story one time where until you're standing at the church door waiting to bring you a coffin with someone in there that died because of fracking problems, you have nothing to say to me about fracking. I will not listen to any pro-fracker because I've twice I've stood at the church door waiting to bring me that casket to bless it, and they died because of fracking. Twice. And until you've had that reality, and you're pro-frack, I'm not going to listen to you. It's not truth to power. It's not even truth to stupid. It's get out of my way. I'm not making time for this. I recognize we're intimately connected, but I'm not going to listen to this nonsense. But today, on a happy note, really, I really do want to end on a happy note here. I ask you to just keep it up. Keep up the good work. Keep up the good faith. We are facing astronomical pain out there, but we're stronger than the pain. We're better than the pain, and we'll wait it out. I am optimistic it will get better. I don't know when, I don't know how, but I remain a person of hope. Something I believe is possible. And my hope comes from my faith, and it does ultimately bring me joy. And I can't separate my faith, my hope, and my joy because it's all connected. And so I thank you for allowing me to come today. And I am happy for you to see me. I am. I'm very happy to come north because last night I was able to have pizza. And you don't get a lot of that in the South. I lived in a town, and I served a town in Breathitt County, Kentucky. I'm sure you're painfully familiar with hillbilly elegy. Well, that's a county it came in. Every fall, this is Breathitt County, Kentucky. They put it in the newspaper, the best of Breathitt, the best place to get your hair cut, the best barbecue, the best whatever, right? Best Italian was Little Caesars.
There's a green light showing on the microphone. Everybody on the own. It is wonderful to be here with all of you with FACT and to be a part of this organization that has been in existence for quite a while, 12, 13 years now, and we're glad you're all here. What I want to do in closing is for the benediction. Did you all get one of these flyers? If you open to the page that says About FACT, I'm just going to read at the bottom our values. I'm not going to read the whole thing. We're just going to look at words in those paragraphs. We believe in the moral imperative. We believe in justice, equity, and inclusion. We believe in hope. We believe in courage. We believe in solidarity. We believe. As we leave here today, my hope is that we take those we believe words with us, and until we meet again, we follow the we believe focus. So to close, walk in peace, go in love. We believe. Amen.
Thank you, Margaret. We have a slide about... Next slide. There we go. This is, of course, one of our major missions of having distinguished speakers come and speak to us. We do a lot of these by Zoom, and this is our next one on Saturday, October 25th. And the registration there is through FACT Sustain Ohio, and we hope that you will all join us on that Zoom meeting. And next. I have one more. Oh, okay. We're a little out of sequence here, but we thank Margaret. This is one we want to keep up. And, you know, we can all talk to Ron. He's right here, and he'll figure out, you know, how we can do it, and encourage other people to come to visit us through the Zoom distinguished speakers and the other activities that we take part in, because we do take part in other organizations' activities that are on the same mission as ours, and we are a presence in the world. Do we want to?
Thank you, Catherine. I was asked before the meeting by Connie Herron, who's here, from the community of St. Peter. Fall Color Adventure, Sunday, October 12th, 2025, 12:30 to 6 p.m. Join them for an unforgettable journey south to Richfield, where we will view peak autumn colors in the national park. And there was something else on the back. This was once owned by the Dominican Sisters. Crown Point has emerged as a crown jewel. And Connie, can you raise your hand? And yeah, could you say a little bit more, because I forgot all that you said.
Yeah, Community St. Peter. Okay, I've got an outside voice, but that's all right. Hi, I'm Connie Herron. I'm part of the community of St. Peter. I'm part of the educational committee that we have. And it's an invitation for all of you, and it's a very, very much a sustainability. The Crown Point Ecology Center was established, a number of years ago, and it is organic farming and sustainability. Their core values are community, sustainability, spirituality, justice, and the mission to demonstrate practical applications to connect spirituality, social justice, and protection. They offer classes with children and adults. They have a CSA, and it's an event site as well. So we'll be going to that. Then we're going to go to Country Made Ice Cream and Orchard. Well, you know what that is. Ice cream and apples. And then we're going to go to the Richfield Jain Temple. I think some people know what Jainism is. It originated in India. It is a spiritual belief. They don't really like to call themselves religions, but it is a spiritual belief. They are strict vegetarians. They are highly sustainable. And so they are welcoming us there. We're going to hear something about Jainism. We're going to have a light coffee, tea, and a snack. Then we'll be departing home. We are going to also provide a box lunch right at as we leave at 12:30. So you all are welcome to come. The only thing is we do need a reservation because we have to know how many box lunches. And this is a bus trip, so we'll get to know each other better. And that's how we build community, is to get together and talk. So, okay, thanks. Pardon? A 55-seat bus. I have no idea. I didn't book it.
Yes.
A nice bus. Okay.
I think the next item on the agenda is the reception, right? And that is out in Baker Hall. Okay, it's in Baker Hall. Just follow the signs so we can get together, we can chat, we can organize, etc., etc. Thank you all for coming. Bless you all.